always suggest to candidates that we're working with that you want to be prepared when you go into the interview with at least 3 to 4 questions so that you're well prepared to make sure that you have some information that you can vet this opportunity to be one that you really want to move forward with. And if you're given a job offer, that you know whether or not you want to accept. So you know what they say, it's always a two-way street. It's the employer that is vetting you, and you're also vetting the opportunity as to whether or not this is something you want for your next career move. So let me talk to you about 3 things that you want to look for. One is culture. And number 2, is this the right fit? And number 3, are they going to recommend you move forward? So first, let's look at culture. You want to look at asking some questions around the culture. And could they describe the culture to you in a little more detail? Of course, before you go in the interview, you're going to research the company, you're going to see what the website says. Sometimes it'll talk about they're the best employer and they win awards, and Glassdoor, they might have good reviews, but you really want them to describe the culture in a little more detail. And that might have a lot to do with work-life balance. It could have to do with how they work together as a team, how supportive they are. The division you're going to work in, say it's sales or marketing or QA or customer service, that team might be very different than the overarching culture of the organization. So it's important to know as well what that team is like. So you want to ask some questions around that. You can also ask them, why do they enjoy working there? And make sure you're asking these questions of everybody you interview with. So if you interview with HR, if you're interviewing with the hiring manager, if you're interviewing with a senior leader, or sometimes you're being interviewed with coworkers as well, depending on their interview process. So ask them questions about why they like working there, what made them join the organization. So they'll tell you about the culture as well. They might speak to, we've just come out of a pandemic. They might talk about how well the company supported them, what they really appreciated about that, how well they were quick to adapt, work-life balance, working from home, all those sorts of things, and what it's been like going back to work. So that speaks a lot to the company culture, how they value their employees, how they've treated people, etc. So those are the things that might be important to you. The second is how they see you fitting into the role. Are you the right candidate? Do you have the skills to do the job? Is there anything else they need from you in order to consider you for the role? And just ask them. Some people are afraid to ask if they see you as the right candidate. Is there anything else they need to know or understand about you as far as your experience and how you might fit into the organization, the team, and the role? Ask the question. They don't necessarily just come out and say, oh, well, we think you're a perfect fit or we think you're a good candidate. Some people are very transparent about that, but some aren't. You're interviewing and you're investing your time. Ask them that question. Don't be afraid. And the last one is, at the end of the interview, you can say, based on our conversation today or based on our interview, whatever way you want to word it, you can say to them, based on our interview today, is there anything else I can provide you in order for you to recommend I move forward in the interview process? Or you could say something like, will you be recommending that I move forward in the interview process? Just as plain as that. And they'll say yes or no. So, or they might say to you, you know what, we're going to be interviewing other people, and at this point in time, I don't know what the other candidates look like, but right now we think you're a very good candidate. Or they might say, you know what, based on our conversation today, I think you're a great candidate. However, I don't think you really have the skills for this particular role. However, we have some other roles coming up down the road that maybe you could possibly fit into, but at this time, for this particular role, we don't think you're the right fit. They will be open and honest. Unfortunately, some people don't like conflict or don't like to be able to give you the bad news, so they might not. But the majority of the people do tell you. So, when I interview candidates and they ask me the question, I tell them, or I'll tell them anyway. But if they're not the right candidate and I try to coach them and I try to help them with another role, most hiring managers, HR, and other individuals in the corporation, if you ask them the question, they're not going to lie to you. They're going to tell you the truth. But don't be afraid, because you want to know. You don't want to get off that Zoom interview or phone interview or leave that company after the one-on-one interview wondering, gee, I wonder if I'm going to move forward. I'm really excited. I want this opportunity. I hope I'm going to get it, and not hear anything. At least if you ask the question, you know that you're still moving forward in the interview process and you're going to hear from them in a week. And you want to ask at that time too, if they say, yes, absolutely, we think you're a great candidate, we'd like to move you forward in the interview process, and ask them, so what are the next steps and when would that be? Well, can we set a date now? You want to close them. And hopefully, just nail down a date and a time, or at least a date and a time that you're going to hear back from them, so that you're moving it forward. Don't let it just hang there. And the most important thing, the questions you're going to ask, you want to write them down, and you want to have them in that pad of paper or that booklet that you're going to carry in with you. You've probably seen some of my other videos. I do talk about that. You want to have something that you take in with you, or you have beside you when you're doing the Zoom or phone interview, where you have some questions written down so that you're organized. But one thing I will tell you is, please don't ask the same questions of information they've already told you. That might seem like common sense, but I've had candidates ask me questions of things we've just discussed. And sometimes that comes out of nervousness, but try to have 3-4 questions. So if you can ask those 3 questions around culture, how do you fit, and will you be moving forward, that will be great. I've had managers say that, the candidates didn't ask any questions. Please don't do that. Go in with those 3 questions and you'll do just fantastic. I hope that's helpful. I'm Linda Robertson from Robertson Human Asset. Give us a thumbs up if you've liked the video, and just please subscribe, and we'll have lots more videos for you, and I hope this has been helpful. Take care.